Mason Parris in the finals of the World Team Trials against a familiar foe, Nick Gwiazdowski. Both of these guys were easily dispatched by Stevenson, but here they both put it on the line again to get a chance for one more crack at him. 15 seconds into the first, looks like they both shoot a single on the same side. Mason going for the lefty single, Nick going for the righty single. Both of these legs were far forward, so the double shot attempt here makes sense. Nick ends up stepping on Mason's foot, making it difficult for him to really react to the shot. You actually can't step on a foot in freestyle to set up a shot, though it is legal in folk style. I've seen a lot of heavyweights do this in college, step on a foot and do a quick leg snatch, but this one seems accidental, so it's fine. Nick lifts the leg to a high single. The ankle is on the outside to Nick's right, making the normal back trip a little more awkward. Nick tries to push the head to the right and kick the foot out to the left. A nice little trip attempt. Works super well if your opponent is coming back to his feet, off balance, or hopping, but you want to aim at the foot. Nick's trip ends up being a little too high, kicking at the knee, and so Mason is able to stay stable, underhook the right side, push it off, and get behind as they go out of bounds. Can't really see from this angle, but Mason must have stepped out first, giving Nick the 1-0 lead. A couple seconds into the second, Nick has wrist control of Mason's left wrist, so Mason grabs the wrist, pulls, and fires off a nice lefty single. This is a nice, simple little setup, can work really well against good opponents when the timing is right. Mason has been doing a lot of nice fakes all match, keeping Nick on his toes. It's cool to see Mason open up when he's not being given his fireman's carry that he uses all the time. Nick circles away from the shot, goes to a sprawl, squares his hips up, which is what you should do when someone shoots, but he doesn't get his hips far enough away. And so Mason is able to pop his head through the legs and lift Nick out the back door. This is a dangerous spot for Nick. In folk style, you can lock around the waist, look to trap an arm, go for a Winn-Dixie or funk, but you can't risk that kind of rolly, funky stuff in freestyle. It's too easy to put you on your back throughout it. In freestyle, you have to pick an ankle, hope your hips fall off to a side, get back to your base, lift the ankle, turn and attack. Nick's not able to do all of this, though. Mason keeps good pressure on the ankle that Nick has control of, steps over the bottom leg and locks up a Turk, but eventually locks up the top leg and pushes Nick to his back for some back exposure. Scores 2-1 Mason. Nick does end up getting a height, lifts the ankle, turns in, looks for a crossface, but then transitions to a cradle because Mason is still hanging on the ankle, trying not to give up the reversal, or what he thinks might be a takedown at this point. Hanging on a leg like this is silly. Giving up a cradle to stop a reversal is also silly. It's more plausible that he doesn't know he got the initial 2 yet. Nick is given the 1 for the reversal. Mason is winning 2-2 by criteria because he got the back exposure, which is worth 2 points, and Nick has a pair of 1-point scores. Mason's score has a higher amplitude, so by criteria, he's winning. Minute 30 left, Nick goes for a righty knee pull single, like a lefty high crotch to a righty single, but Mason sprawls well, circles away, gets his hips down, and breaks the control. He then circles to the right, goes crossface with his left arm, and pulls himself to his own righty single. A nice little re-attack coming from Mason. Nick turns away. He could hook the hip here and put a lot of hip pressure and try to kick his foot out, but he elects to just kick over the body, likely to go crotch lock and to roll Mason. Mason sits to his right hip, again keeping control of the ankle with one hand and higher up on the leg with the other, keeping the leg nice and straight, and rolls Nick to his back for some exposure. This position you would look to hook the bottom leg with your leg, which is a Turk, then push the top leg forward, pop your head out, then swim to a crossface. Looks like the ref offers the pin here, but waves it as Nick bails completely. Scores 4-2 Mason. 24 seconds left. Nick goes for a rather random righty single yet again. Mason sprawls, has a body lock. Nick tries to peek out the right side. You would slide your left knee under, pop your head out, and throw your right elbow back, which can make your opponent fall off of you completely, giving you a takedown. But Mason's not fooled by this. He wisely lets go of things and stays on his base facing Nick. This is how you defend this peek out. Just let go of the body lock and slip out. Nick casually turns away, and so Mason reattacks, jumps out a body lock for the takedown as the clock winds down. Scores 6-2 Mason at the end of the match. And so Mason is the World Team Trials champion and gets to go up against Stevenson again at the Final X. The main issue I see with their styles versus Gable's style is that Gable is much more fluid in his attacks. Both of these guys do fakes, sure, don't get me wrong, but they aren't able to connect their fakes to more fakes and then to shots and changes of direction. Everything that Gable is able to do so well. A lot of their shots are one-dimensional. They don't go from a fake to a tie-up to a fake to a shot, which is what Gable will do. It's more like they do a fake, then back to their stance. They do a fake, then back to their stance, then they shoot. There's no real connection between all of it. And so the times they land a shot, it's when someone is just out of position or they happen to get a good setup. Gable's just on another level. Hopefully Mason proves me wrong and is able to step up his level and make it more competitive.